What I'd like for you to understand, and what I believe and what I teach and what I've built my business around, is driving for dollars at its core is the best way to start, scale, and systematize a $1 million a year operation. What I'm going to talk about right now is the different marketing channels that most people talk about when they're talking about building a $1 million a year operation, and why you need this versus driving for dollars. And I'm going to kind of go through and agree with a lot of that, but also talk about the obstacles and the reality of it all. The reality of it all is most of your other channels, there's a lower barrier of entry, meaning it's a lot easier to set up, but there's way more competition. It's way more expensive, meaning the cost per lead is way higher. Your profit margins are much less. I do $1 million a year. I don't do seller appointments. I don't do cold calling. I don't do driving. I look at my financials and my KPIs. I spend a couple hours a week to generate $1 million in my business at a 50% profit margin. I have freedom. I have the ability to give back and to do things like this. I get to go have adventures and hunt all over the place. I love to hunt with a bow and arrow. I have freedom because I have a system that is very profitable. My driving for dollars traditionally makes me anywhere between a 5 and a 10x on my ad spend, meaning I have 90 to 75% of all the money I make left over to pay my team and pay my profits, right? So the more profits I make on my marketing, the more I have left over to keep. So what most people do, right, is what I consider a paid lead source. Those will include PPC, radio, PPL, and SEO. There's a few others, yes, you could throw in there, but I'm going to go through those really quick. PPC stands for pay-per-click. Pay-per-click is if you Google sell my house fast or any other key term, it'll pop up on Google, and those first couple links right below that ad, it says sponsored. People are paying to show up there. If you click there, they pay money. And that price will vary between a couple bucks to a couple $100 depending on the market. Paid leads will also include something like radio, where you're having to sign residual contracts. I spend about $10,000 a month on radio. I spend money on PPC. I spend money on PPL. I spend money on these things. The problem with paying for leads like ZBuyer and some of these others, or trying to rank organically on SEO and having those expenses to update links, is people that go online, people that are proactively wanting an offer, they don't just fill out one form. There's way more competition, and it is extremely expensive. I have certain pay per lead. I bought a lead this morning in Salt Lake City, Utah. I spent $700 for the lead. $700 for one freaking Google lead. Okay. So it's extremely expensive. It's extremely competitive. And I literally just got a text from my acquisition manager. He said that Salt Lake lead was a waste of time. I was like, great, there goes $700. The other things that people do is they buy a list or pull a list. So you can pull lists within DealMachine, but there's other resources where you can go to your city or county records, get your evictions, code violations, probates, tax delinquents, divorce, water shutoffs, all those different niche lists. I prefer these. They're more profitable traditionally nationwide than these. Your cost per lead's higher. There's more competition. Your average deal size, I find, is smaller here, and your cost per deal is higher here than here, because there's a little bit more of a barrier of entry. It's more of a headache to set this stuff up than it is this. If you have a higher budget, people tend to go here because it's easy to set up. When you pull these lists, the problem with some of these lists, what happened is the states made it public records, or the state made a website or a page on the website for all public data for all the different counties. So you go to the state website and pull all the information like that every single month. And then all of a sudden my leads and my deals dried up. And we'll talk about that, why I went into driving for dollars. The next strategy is beg and pray. Beg and pray strategies include posting on social media, calling your probate attorneys, calling your assisted living homes, right? Doing agent outreach. Do you have any sellers that want to sell quick? You could call people that do meth remediation and biohazard cleanup. We've done deals from all those things. Right? You get guys that go and clean up dead bodies, and they call you because there's a house that's gross, right? So those are the beg and pray. You can do deals off of them, but then you're hoping and waiting around for someone to call you with an opportunity. All these strategies, you're going to deal with way more competition. Your cost per lead's way more. If you're newer and you're starting out and you're not good at negotiating, you're not solid on your numbers. If you have more than one investor there, especially someone that's negotiated hundreds of deals, you're really going to struggle with these strategies because everyone has these lists. Everyone's fighting over these online leads, right? Those first 5 people on Google all get the same lead, right? So what I want you to understand, like, these are really hard to scale. A lot of people are like, oh, there's too much competition in my area. There's too much competition in every area. How do you separate yourself from your competition? You do this by having the most niche down focused, laser focused marketing channel. And you're in the business of marketing and your product is real estate. Remember that, right? That is the business that we're in. So in the beginning of my journey of getting my butt kicked, pulling these different lists, trying Facebook ads, putting $30,000 into Facebook ads, never doing a deal, what happened was I thought I invented driving for dollars. I'm an idiot. It's been around longer than I've been alive. But what I started doing is when I was driving around, I started noticing these ugly houses from people that called me on the code violations. I'm like, I'm going to go build my own code violation list, right? The code violation list worked. I'm going to go build my own. And that was where the thought process came up. And so I started adding ugly houses, going on the county records, pulling the list. And I started making money quickly. I was only one on the appointment. I was like, this is insane. DealMachine sped that up by having the route tracking and the tap to add. With the same process, I went from adding 100 properties in a couple days that I was adding 100 properties to my marketing list in an hour, right? And it changed everything. It allowed driving for dollars to go from doing a deal here and there because it took forever to build a marketing list to now you can have one part-time driver to give you enough data points that you can make over $1 million a year from just that list. So your drivers or yourself, you should be adding 30 to 100 properties an hour. The biggest thing is your easier barrier of entry, like Facebook ads and setting up campaigns, hiring a digital marketing company, paying for Google ads, paying for leads. Your lower barrier of entry, traditionally, it's a lot of money. You have to have huge budgets. Your cost per lead's way higher. You're getting a smaller profit margin. It's harder to scale because you don't have a bigger profit margin. So if you go out and spend $10,000 and make $100,000, you're going to be kicking ass. But if you have to go out and spend $30,000 to $50,000 to make $100,000, that's a huge barrier of entry financially. And there's not a lot left over to then dump more back into the business. There's way more competition on these other lists. You're going to waste time and money if you're new because you're going to be dealing with that competition is going to be inconsistent. So I do driving for dollars. Why? I target motivation. I can pick my areas. I can pick my cities. I can pick the streets and the properties there. Every penny I spend to get in front of those people, it's the ideal people. No one has that exact same list, even if they're doing driving for dollars. No one drives the exact same houses on the exact same days and reaching out to the exact same list. You own it. No one else can have it. It can be scaled easily. So if you find that you do one deal out of every 2,000 postcards you send, right, to your driving for dollars list, how do you scale? Add more addresses. Do more postcards do them every other month instead of every 6 months, right? It's a lot easier to scale your spend when you have a niche list and you can increase the size of that niche list. For example, back in the day, I was doing great on code violations, but there was only so many filed. So then I had to go find another one. I found eviction did well too, but not as well as the code violation. So with this, it's a lot easier to scale. You're going to avoid competition, like I said, because you're going to have way less way less competition on has your exact same list. If you guys will watch my 40-day challenge, you'll see me use DealMachine. I did 3 wholesale deals, making $93,000 in 40 days. It's free on my YouTube channel. So what I want to do now is I want to break down how I'm doing driving for dollars. And I want to teach you guys the exact process and the exact system. So I went over a high level view of why I do driving for dollars versus all other channels, how I've been able to build $1 million a year operation around driving for dollars. I'm going to show you the exact details. So there's a couple things that we have to do first. Let's go to Zillow. There's 2 ways you can identify the areas where the deals are being done. You can go to median house price and then your city, Indiana. So I like the Zillow one. Doesn't matter. You can go to Zillow. There's usually Redfin. There it is. But you can find the median house price. So your median house price is about $242,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up properties for sale on Zillow or Redfin, and I'm going to find just the single family homes and only properties, single family homes that are selling at that median house price and lower. 90% of your investor traffic is in your median house price and lower, where people are willing to sell for cash. It's higher churn. People are willing to sell at a discount in those areas at a much higher percentage. So that's how you get a quick general overview of where the deals are being done. Another solid way to find this is you go to different Facebook groups. So if you go to Indiana, check this out. Indiana real estate. So you go on your Facebook. If you don't have a profile, create one. You go to groups, and then you find Indiana Real Estate Forum, and you're going to go join these different groups. 19,000, Indiana Real Estate. Here's another one. You can do wholesaling, creative real estate investing in your city and your state, and you're going to find those. You're going to join them. So the one I used on the 40-day challenge was this one, Tampa Network. So what you can do is you can go in and search, and your search bar. So every Facebook group has a search bar. You go to the search bar and you search off market, deal, opportunity, cash, just different terms that people will post when they're promoting their off market deals. Because we don't want to go after those deals. We want to go after the neighborhoods where the deals are. Where do we go mine for gold? Where the gold is, right? If people are doing deals in those neighborhoods, I guarantee you there's more deals there. Right? There's little subsections here in Utah where I do deals, and there's other subsections that are below the median house price, but there's no wholesale opportunities. Like, we do so few deals in those areas, even though they have a high population and their price point's perfect. It's weird, right? So what we'll do is we'll search deal in DealMachine and check it out. You're going to scroll through and write down the addresses of all these opportunities, and you're going to put pins on your map, and you're going to find that there's certain neighborhoods and certain subsections of your market where the deals are being found. That's where I want you guys to go drive. Once you go out into those areas, you're going to look for houses with any physical signs of neglect. In DealMachine, there's a couple of features that I find absolutely amazing. One of them is when you hit free drive, and it's going to route track where you've been. So you don't waste your time and be like, have I been here? Have I added these houses? Right? When they didn't have that, dude, you know how many times I probably drove the same street? Like, man, I think I've added that one. I don't know. Right? So make sure you do that. Another cool feature is when you see that house, you add the house. So I do the tap to add feature. When you touch the house, it'll upload the information right there on your screen. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about? There's a little button there that looks like a price tag. You'll hit that tag, and you can create any extra tags that you want. So when you go to export that list or go to your Excel spreadsheet of properties you added, one of the columns, one of the data points is specialty tags. So you can create your own tags and your own specialty tags. So many of my students and many people I've talked to in the past, they go, Zach, do I only add the worst of the worst? What if I'm not really sure on the property? You can come up with your own variation of a score system of they have 2 or 3 physical signs of neglect. So you give that an A, as in top priority list. That's your A list. You go just, 2 things. You do your B, right? Just one little thing. That's your C list, right? And now you can subsection off your marketing list depending on what your marketing budgets are. I want to spend more marketing dollars on my A list and way less on my C list. And then when you send postcards to those subsections, you can do separate tracking numbers. You can track how much money you've spent on that list, how many return calls you've had, how many appointments and revenue and the profitability for those subsections. So you can test your theory that one part of your list is better than another. And you know what I've found historically overall? They're all profitable. If you're in the right neighborhoods and they have physical signs of neglect, you're going to get a 5 to 10x on your ad spend.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.